By listening to this podcast, you agree to not use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical condition in yourself or others, including, but not limited to, patients that you are treating. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the podcast. Under no circumstances shall any guests or contributors to the podcast or any employees, associates, or affiliates of the Neuroendocrine Cancer Awareness Network be responsible for damages arising from use of this podcast. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Nets Get Real with NCAN. I am your host, Mike Wayman. Before we get started on today's episode with a really close NCAN pal, family member, if you will, for the past, I don't even know how long. I got to remind you all that our next conference is coming up this weekend, September 9th, in Cleveland, Ohio. We have 5 awesome doctors lined up for you, including Dr. Amir Mohammed. The one after that is in Miami, October 14th. We've got 6 presentations. We've got a whole bunch of panels with a bunch of doctors. It's going to be really, really awesome, and probably one of the most filled one-day events that we've ever done. So October 14th, that's happening. Registration is open for your Strides for Stripes NCAN walk. We have the physical ones in Long Island, September 24th. We've got Charlotte, North Carolina, November 4th, and right now, virtually, you can do it anywhere from your local park to your neighborhood to just going in and pledging a little bit. It's from now until December 31st. For more information about those events, and of course our gala coming up on November 11th, the 20th anniversary, please go to netcancerawareness.org or all of our socials at netcanceraware. So without further ado, I want to welcome Ronda Ayala.
Hi.
Hi, Ronda. Thanks for coming on to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
We've had it for about a year, and I can't believe it's taking this long to get you on. I'm almost insulted.
You know what? It wasn't personal.
I figured.
It's just hard to nail me down. You know that.
I know. For people who don't know, who haven't been to an NCAN conference before, Ronda is super hands-on with us. She is one of the biggest helpers you could ever ask for, major part of the team, and always great to have around. So
I'll pay you later for that.
So let's just get into it real quick. Tell us a little bit about your net journey. Actually, before you do that, a little bit of terminology that I think we should get a little bit familiar with here. Whipple. It's going to be a very important thing to know as a part of your story. So can you just explain what a Whipple is?
A Whipple is a surgery that is given for cancer, any type of cancer on the head of the pancreas. It's done for the common bile duct. There's numerous reasons why someone might need a Whipple, but basically it's called, in medical terms, it's a pancreatic duodenectomy. Old Father Whipple was the doctor who devised it in the 30s. And so we just call it a Whipple because it's easier than that big word. And most doctors refer it to their patients as a Whipple. And it's also known as the granddaddy of all surgeries. It's a very big operation. It's like having several in one. They take out, some of them actually take out the edge of the stomach and some of the pancreas, and the gallbladder is gone, and part of the small intestine is gone. So it's sort of like putting Humpty Dumpty back together again. And then there's some issues that we might get into that are caused after you have a Whipple, but basically all of that those organs are taken out, sent to, to pathology and stuff. And then they put you back with the bile duct and all kinds of stuff. So it's a pretty big surgery. Mine was 8 hours, and mine was an open Whipple. And now they're doing them like robotic style and whatnot. So there's just different types of Whipples. There's a straight down incision, what I have. There's a chevron, which is a V. So it just kind of depends on the doctor, but that's basically what a Whipple is. It's getting rid of the cancer and anything associated that could possibly have cancer in there as well.
Okay. All right. So now that everybody knows Whipple, because I'm sure they'll hear it quite a bit, tell us a little bit about your story with neuroendocrine.
I was misdiagnosed like many patients are. My misdiagnosis went on for about 15 years and, typical of many patients, I was misdiagnosed with IBS and all that, kind of GI stuff. And then one day I had a pain underneath my right rib, and being a nurse, I knew that could be gallbladder. And then it started tweaking back on the right shoulder, which is another referral pain from something like that. And at that point I was 44. And so there's a saying, 40, fat and female, you have a gallbladder issue. So I went to the doctor and insisted in a way on having, having it checked. And the doctor was a family friend, and he said he just did it because I was a pain in the butt to him. So he let me have an ultrasound. And they found it, and I didn't know anything was wrong. And I said to the tech, am I okay? And she goes, well, if it's anything, we'll let you know. So hearing the word it, in order to be something, it has to be an it. So I knew they found something. And then, they just threw the book at me, MRIs, CAT scan, all that kind of good stuff. So I ended up at University of Miami at a Dr. Joe Levi, who did my Whipple, because, we'd found out it's on the pancreas, and it's just scary. There's a whole emotional thing that goes with being diagnosed. But mine was on the head of the pancreas, and it was about, I want to say, 3.8 centimeters. So it wasn't little, but, hindsight's perfect, especially with a pancreatic one, because I'd had symptoms for years, but I just chalked it up to anxiety, etc. We can get into that later. Anyway, I ended up having the Whipple at University of Miami with Dr. Joe Levi, who has since retired. And like I said, 8-hour surgery. And then I had about 10 days in the hospital post-op. And then coming home, there's a lot to get used to, and a lot that changes with your, the whole GI tract and everything. And that's not even dealing with the cancer part. That's just getting through the surgery part. Right. So it's a big pie to eat at one time. So you have to, do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when, as far as like the recovery from surgery, how long did that end up taking you to get at least back on your feet?
Well, that's the thing that I've learned through. I don't know if we're going to talk about Whipple Warriors, but
for sure.
I've learned a lot. Do you want me to go into that a little?
Sure. Go for it.
Okay. So after I got out of surgery, being a nurse and stuff, I asked them for a Whipple diet, and they go, "Oh, it's the same as, oh gosh, help me, where they cut the stomach to lose weight and all that." Bariatric
gastric bypass.
Yeah. So he said it's the same, and same diet, and it's not. And so I went home, and they're telling me what to eat and everything, and it was hard. I was having a struggle. In the beginning, there were really bad cramps. I mean, horrific cramps and all kinds of stuff that you have to deal with. So long story short, and this is my truth, and I know you guys know me. I was praying like, God, what do you want me to do? And I was in Mass one day, and I felt him say, make a Facebook page, develop a website, and write a book for Whipple patients, because there was nothing on the internet when I started reaching out for help. There was nothing. This is back in January 20th of 2010. And so I thought if I'm lost being a nurse and having access to medical professionals in my family, you know, what is someone, you know, who doesn't have a medical background, what are they going to do? At any rate, so one of the things, you know, we learned a lot through the Whipple Warriors, because that's how I met your mom. Mm-hmm. And I chased her down, and then, you know, we hit it off in the first 10 minutes. And I just learned a lot through dealing with patients in all around the world. You know, it's now become the biggest Whipple organization in the world and stuff. So it was interesting to learn that the problems where patients are having in the U.S. are the same problems they're having in India or England or, you know, all over the world. So we found some, you know, fellowship, community. You know, are you having this? Are you having that? So it was really a good thing to unite anybody who's had a Whipple.
Sure, sure. Now, as far as like your involvement and stuff like that, I know a lot of people, they get treated, they start feeling better, and that's it. They just go on with their lives. What made you want to get more involved? What made you want to start something up like that? Like,
I realized I didn't answer the last question about, because somebody might want to know.
Oh yeah, yes,
how long
yes,
did it take? I forgot about that. So I ranted on. Forgive me.
It's okay.
As far as recovery goes, the doctors at that time told me it'd just take a few weeks. And that is not what we found at all with the Whipple Warriors around the world. You will feel better within maybe 6 weeks, but during those first 6 weeks, you're going to have cramps and diarrhea, and your stomach is getting used to processing food, and newly digested food is not used to going into the part of the intestine called the jejunum, which they attach over here this time. So everything's kind of learning like what's going on here, and it takes a little bit to get the body oriented to what, I mean, ready to do, like, what do I do with this food? So you start with a very soft diet, bland stuff. But as far as overall recovery, I would honestly, I don't want to scare anybody, but I would honestly say I was close to 100% by about like 8 months. But that doesn't mean the whole time from surgery to the 8 months. I'm talking about being back to, you know, eating a lot and doing well.
Right.
So I would say the first 6 weeks were the worst. And after 6 weeks, you know, you kind of are learning what your body can tolerate. And so there's little things, you know, food journals, there's all kinds of stuff to take care of that.
Right, right. Now, again, back to the Whipple Warrior thing. So what made you want to get involved? What made you, rather than just, okay, well, I'm going to just deal with this and do what I have to do, or, you know, that kind of thing?
I don't know. I just was kind of a little bit angry that I didn't, there weren't any answers out there. And then, you know, part of me is as a caregiver was thinking, well, what about these other people? You know, who's helping them? So it just sort of became my, you know, thing to champion. And, you know, I just felt bad for everybody. If I was having, like I said, if I was having a hard time, you know, it just wasn't fair not to have good information out there. And I was shocked that there wasn't at that point.
Absolutely.
So, you know, my goal was to give information, and then not to practice medicine, because I shouldn't be doing that as a nurse, but to give my account. There's nothing wrong with giving what worked for you.
Right.
So that's basically what I did. And I told everybody that when they came on the page, to not give each other medical advice. That's not what we're there for, but to say what happened and what worked best for you.
Sure.
You know, boiled chicken was my friend.
Well, something that you did mention too is that you were a caregiver. So as a nurse, how did that factor into some of your advocacy for yourself? You said that the doctors thought you were a pain in the ass. So how did that help you?
Medicine has changed over these, you know, I'm going to age myself, over the past 30 years. So, you know, the deal is that nowadays people have to be their own advocate. You know, back in the day, you had one doctor and they would send you out to this specialist, and that specialist would report back, and this specialist would report back. So you got all your information from one doctor, basically, back in the day. Now you're going all here, and the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing and all this. So unfortunately, you know, you have to be your own advocate. And I knew that if I didn't go in there and there's nice ways to do things, like, are you sure I'm okay? You know, there's certain ways also to word it, like the doctor's like, okay, I'll just write her to do this. You know, are you 100% sure that I don't have something on my, you know, pancreas or whatever, you know, my gallbladder? So you just, I mean, and as a caregiver, I've seen that, you know, so much that, and listen, I got like 5 doctors in my family, and I love them all, and they're smart people, but they're people. Yeah. And so you have to realize that everybody, I tell the patients, you have to realize your doctor is a person too. So, you know, if they're not telling you what you need to hear, what you want, or don't let it go. And I'm not saying to not trust your doctor, but if it doesn't sit right, ask for further explanation, go for a second opinion, all that kind of stuff. So, unfortunately, that's medicine nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talked a lot about the Whipple end of it. What about your neuroendocrine side of things? What kind of what is your story with that, and what have you dealt with treatment-wise and stuff?
Honestly, the first thing I thought when Dr. Levi, when I went in for the consultation before surgery, he looked at my size of the golf ball, you know, in my pancreas, and he's like, "Oh, that's interesting." And he goes, "That's an interesting thing. It must be neuroendocrine, because otherwise, you know, the size of it would not be good." So that's the first time I heard that word, and I didn't know what he was talking about. And then, of course, because I am who I am, and Dr. Google, you know, is on there. So I went and, you know, wrote and read everything about it. But it took a week to get the biopsy back, and sure enough, it was neuroendocrine. And then I just started studying up on it and just going on PubMed and learning like the peer-reviewed papers on what this was. And it terrified me, because, you know, they give you the 5-year mark.
Right.
And I think Dr. Google is very scary sometimes. So, and I've heard that from many patients. Oh, I went on and I thought I was a goner immediately, you know. Sure. And so neuroendocrine, I just didn't know what it was. But I'd had, like I said, symptoms. I had, you know, blood sugar issues. I was being treated for anxiety. And that would be because of the hormones and stuff, because, you know, the hormones are always a little wacky with neuroendocrine. So, you know, hindsight, I realized how long I did have this.
Yeah, yeah. Now, as far as getting the right treatment, what would you say is the #1 thing you would suggest to a new patient?
Oh gosh, any new patient, my immediate thing is go to a specialist. This is such a unique and rare cancer that, you know, most doctors have heard of it, but they haven't been trained in it. And if you have something rare, you want somebody who knows like everything about it. So my very first thing is get to a specialist. And again, you know, they're all over, and by coming to the conferences and whatnot, you can actually meet them and speak with them. But, you know, my nephew just graduated University of Miami, you know, well, he's already a doctor, but they had 15 minutes in all those years of school to hear about neuroendocrine. 15 minutes, that was it.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, you know, you get a patient in 20 years and you kind of forget about those 15 minutes. And geez, what was that I heard? Oh, I wanted to tell you this. We had some Whipple patients who actually said, just a minute. And the doctor went out and was like Googling, like, what's a Whipple?
Oh my gosh.
They forgot about it. They learned,
right?
But how are you asking the doctor to recall something that he learned, you know, even 10 years ago, you know? So I don't blame the doctors at all for this. But I'm glad that, advocacy groups like NCAN are around to, let's keep it up there in the possibilities with, the doctor's minds and the patient's minds and everything. So back to your, I do digress. Back to your original question is, first thing is go see a specialist. Now, here's an example. I see my local oncologist, and he not lets me, but I go to a specialist. And I asked the local guy if he's okay working in tandem with my specialist who was up at University of Kentucky or is there. So he said yes. So if you have a doctor that doesn't want to work with your specialist, it might be time to find a doctor that will work with a specialist. Because the best thing in medicine is when you don't know something, to say, I don't know, but I will find out. So if this doctor doesn't know much about the Whipple or neuroendocrine, find somebody who does and let them work in conjunction. So, my husband equates it to a football, and I don't know football, but he equates it to football. Like this guy is the quarterback and your doctor at home is the one carrying out the plays. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
With football? Okay.
It does.
Okay. So, yeah. But, so that's what I would say is get yourself to a specialist immediately.
Yes. And then also, why do you think it's so important that new patients are aware and make sure that they're involved with their treatment plan? Well, I think patients do better to know what their treatment plan is, to be involved, to ask questions. You're going to have, this is not just an individual disease, the whole family, people who love you, all kind of need to know what's happening. It's a time of very high anxiety for everybody, including the patient, but also everybody, who loves that. I know you were in the shoes with your mom when you were younger. I had kids who were afraid. So it was easier for me to be involved with my treatment plan and know like, hey, I'm having this done and this is why. And if you explain why to other people, they'll relax, but you'll relax too if a doctor explains why something needs to be done. And then if you have questions, you can ask, well, what if we do this that you might have found out on Dr. Google or whatever. So, you can be asked like, why not this? And so I view working with your doctor as a little bit of a team approach. You have to have respect because they are so knowledgeable, but all doctors should be open and, comfortable with patients asking questions or can you please explain that to me? So as far as being involved with your treatment, I want everybody to be involved in their treatment. I think it's a good relationship. It helps you feel better and your doctor feel better that you're both on the same page. Absolutely. So with NCAN turning 20 this year, can you just share a couple of things that that NCAN has given to you over the past 20, however long you've been involved?
Yeah, I don't want to get emotional, and you know that, but your mom saved my life. So my doctors told me I was cured, and they told me just go on with your life, no more MRIs, you're cured and stuff. And Mariana, like I said, we hit it off. And so when I told her, hey, I'm cured, she's like, what are you talking about? You're not cured. You always have to keep an eye on this. I'm fine. Well, she was right. It was a few years later and whatever, I don't even know the timing at this point, but it was in my liver. And so without her pushing, I really, honest to God, would not be here because, what can I say about NCAN? You guys literally saved my life. You saved my children from not having a mom. And I really appreciate that. And how could I not become involved with wonderful people and with an organization, again, like with Whipple, I wanted to help patients. And with this, I'm helping patients. And, the Whipple Warriors is kind of running on its own now. I have administrators, I dabble in there. I watch out what's happening and everything. But my whole focus, 80%, has turned to NCAN. because the awareness that you give patients that this thing exists. I mean, I didn't know anything about it. Nobody I knew about neuroendocrine. Just that it was rare, and that's not what you want to hear from the doctors. Oh, you have something rare. Great, you know? And it's the good kind of cancer to have. I would say that the best kind of cancer to have is none. So, you know, but, you know, NCAN has helped helped me with these seminars that are put on and everything. Oh my gosh, I remember the first seminar, I was just scribbling down like a wild woman on everything the doctors were saying. I was like, you know, give me this information. You know, knowledge is power. And boy, NCAN really gives the patient knowledge. And like I said, the top doctors in the world are at your events, at our events. And they're really approachable. They're approachable people. They're very nice. They're kind. They love their patients. And it's just a great way to learn information. And then the awareness thing is great, because I think now people are starting to hear this neuroendocrine and like, what, you know, it's not so much like, what is that? It's like, oh yeah, I heard about that. Or I know somebody who's had that. Or, you know, so again, to make it more, you know, part of the common dialogue that it could be neuroendocrine is would save lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So right. It's your mom's fault I'm here.
No, it's a good thing.
And I bug her every day.
Rhonda, before we head out here, can you just first off let everybody know where to find Whipple Warriors? And also anything else that you want to share with the listeners?
You can find Whipple Warriors, like I said at the beginning, you know, I started it off on the Facebook. So go to Facebook and go to Whipple Warriors Survivor Group. And that was one of the first things I called it, because, you know, back when I started it, there were people who didn't survive it. And it was very scary. And now they've really, really tweaked it. So, you know, Whipples are totally survivable. Just it takes a lot of work and recovery after. And then what was your second question?
Is there anything else that you want to add and little bit of information or advice that you'd like to drop on the listeners?
Drop the bomb. Okay. So if you're listening to this, if you care enough about yourself and your health, and frankly, your family's mental well-being, you know, I would tell you for sure to get to one of our conferences. Bring loved ones to our conferences. They'll feel better after hearing, you know, and learning at least, you know, what you have in your, you know, toolbox to throw at this. And that would be the very beginning step, I would say. And then they'll meet you or me or your mom or whoever at the conference. So you will have, you know, somebody you can call, somebody you can ask. And I think that's the other thing, is that the phone line is open, you know, 24/7. And, you know, I've fielded calls on Whipple patients and pancreatic patients and stuff like that. So the amount of information that's available is crazy, and there's really no reason not to get involved, because it's for our benefit.
Absolutely. So Rhonda, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, thank you. Everybody, thank you for listening, and please remember, participate, share this podcast, because more awareness is more. What's that?
One more thing.
Yeah.
If you are interested, you know, my other thing is to, you know, do these walks, support NCAN. Everything takes money, and so, you know, I don't want to turn it into that, but go to the walk, do your own walk, do that kind of stuff, because, you know, if anybody who knows how much conferences cost to put on, and this is to benefit all patients, you know, we just support us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was I not supposed to say that?
No. That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. Yeah. Any support we get is greatly appreciated. Again, we've got a whole bunch of conferences coming up. We've got Cleveland in a few days. We've got Miami, October 19th.
I'll be in Miami.
You'll be in Miami.
Come meet me.
And you can come meet Rhonda and hang out. Of course, the walks are open. The registrations are open and ready to go. We've got the 20th anniversary gala celebration of life. She'll be there too. So come have a drink with her.
No, buy me a drink. No, I'm sorry. We're not supposed to be drinking. No, I'm kidding. We're not going to go down that road. Okay.
For more information, go to netcancerawareness.org or hit us on our social medias at netcanceraware. Rhonda, thank you for hanging out, and we'll see you next time on Nets Get Real.
Okay. Thanks so much.